Welcome, everyone. This is the Implementing the Cybersecurity course for students in grades 8 through 12. And we are so happy to have you here with us this afternoon. To get started, we're going to take a moment and introduce ourselves. Again, I'm so happy that you're here with us. I'm Charlene, and I've been with the curriculum team for about 4 years now. Before that, I have experience as a former teacher and instructional coach. And I truly love that I'm still able to support teachers in the work that we do here at cyber.org. And I'm joined by one of my favorite teammates, Jonathan Bartles, and I'm going to give him a moment to introduce himself to you and tell you a little bit about himself.
Hi, everyone. My name's Jonathan Bartles. Originally, math and science was where I started as both a teacher and curriculum developer. I joined cyber.org right as we were transitioning from NYSERC to cyber.org. And that was starting with the cybersecurity course, which was written to CompTIA's Security Plus 501, co-architect of the cyber.org range. And essentially anything that's written towards CompTIA certification is something that I've had my hands involved in. So
Thanks, Bartles. And I do see the message in the chat. Thank you. We had a fun opportunity to bring items in that kind of represented us or a hobby that we like to do and take some fun pictures. So I am a big fan of Care Bears, so kind of giving my age away a little bit there. And Bartles is, aside from math and doing great cybersecurity stuff, he's also an athlete. And I'm going to go ahead and say that's a softball bat. Yes.
yeah, I was just actually responding to that and was going to say the softball bat in that photo is banned in the league I play in because apparently it's too hot.
See, already learning new things. But we also have our email addresses here, and I'm just put them into the chat. We hope that after this call that you feel comfortable reaching out to us, sending us an email. It could be later on today, tomorrow, next week. If you have any questions about this content, or even like Bartles had mentioned, this course here, what we're going to talk about today has nothing to do with CompTIA or the range, but any of those questions, Bartles is your person to go to. And even anything with Cyber Society, our team is small enough that if you email, you're going to get a response from us, and we do love hearing from our teachers. And so you know a little bit about us, you know a little bit about our team, but what about cyber.org? So cyber.org, our vision is to build a future where the nation's cybersecurity needs are met by a knowledgeable, a skilled, and a passionate workforce. We believe strongly that classroom teachers are essential to this process. And since the majority of our curriculum team is made up of former classroom teachers, we truly know and understand the impact that a classroom teacher can have. And we have trained over 25,000 educators, and I'm excited that you are a part of that impact now. All of our work, our professional development, our curricula are funded through CISA, which is the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. And so what this means for you is that we are able to provide all of our classroom content and professional development to teachers, K-12 teachers in the United States at absolutely no cost. And a question that I commonly get asked is if this is like a trial period. Is it free for like 3 months and then you're going to start charging for it? No, we will never charge. That's really important to us. Exciting that we're able to provide this great content to be used in classrooms at absolutely no cost. It is all available to you for free. So before we go any further, we would love to know about you and who you are. So if you would please just take a moment and drop into the chat the grade levels that you teach. And if you're comfortable where you're from, we would just love to know a little bit more about who we have here on the call with us. Wow. Okay, this is great. I love seeing all of the variety here and the different roles. And I want to also say thank you before we go any further here. Teachers wear so many hats, and I know many of you are teaching multiple things, and sometimes that can be challenging. So I hope that what we show you today makes the school year just a little bit easier for you. So just very quickly, our agenda, we're going to do an overview of cyber society and then look at samples from two different lessons. We're going to look at a sample from our unit on law and your permanent electronic record. And then it's that lesson where we're going to give you an opportunity to go into breakout rooms and look at some of the articles that are included with that lesson and have an opportunity to read through it and discuss that with other teachers. Then we're going to look a little bit at media literacy and then just give you a small taste of ACES, our cyber scenarios, and then make sure you know how to sign up for cyber.org content and then see if there are any questions at the end. So if you have already gone in and applied for access and have received that, then you've seen that you've received access to everything, to all of our courses. Cyber Society is in our bucket of integrated cybersecurity courses. It's very unique compared to our other courses. It is our liberal arts non-technical course, and it's designed to introduce students to how the world of cyber affects their everyday lives. We want to give students a greater awareness of the need for cybersecurity and also an opportunity to engage in discussions with each other on some of the ethics behind cybersecurity. So what is Cyber Society? It is a set of 10 liberal arts units that are designed to introduce students to how the world of cybersecurity affects their lives every day. It focuses on the liberal arts and ethics of cybersecurity, and the skills that students learn from these modules will help them be more confident in how they interact with an ever-growing and connected world around them. This course is designed to be 180 hours. And when you first go to the course, you're going to see these modules. Um, you'll see that we have lessons on law, politics, terrorism, ethics, data, communities, business, AI, media literacy, and then at the end is ACES. And one of the questions that I get asked sometimes in PDs is, do you start there at the beginning with law? And this is very modular, so you can pick a topic that is of interest to you and your students. So I mentioned earlier, most of you actually are teaching multiple subjects. And so you may find, I think we had one that was teaching math and cyber society. So you may find um, the unit that's titled data to be something that may be able to work together a little bit easier. So I would say start with that. Or if your teacher in business is more comfortable for you, that's a great place to start also. You don't have to start in any one particular area. You can pull what you need as you feel comfortable with it. So this right here would be if you were to have clicked on politics, and then you're looking at different lessons there. Every lesson has scripted teacher notes and a slide deck that goes along with the lesson. Some of the lessons have handouts that go along with it also. And not every one of them do though, but if there is a handout that would be included there as well. And so just looking a little bit more closely at these different units and modules. We start with law here. Law is going to explore the differences between a criminal offense and a moral wrong. We're going to look at protecting intellectual property. And then the lesson we're going to look at today is your permanent electronic record. We also have lessons you'll see here on politics and terrorism. And then ethics is going to examine the ethical implications of extensive technology use, and looking at one of my favorite lessons in here is looking at digital technology, friendships, and personal relationships, and how we have friends that we're friends with on social media, but then what are those friendships really like? Then what does it mean to say that someone is a friend? And is there a difference in a friend in real life and a friend on social media? And then we have communities looking at a network society, crowdsourcing information, and technology that's used in communication. Business demonstrates the collection, storage, usage, and protection of data. Artificial intelligence looks at AI in the home, ethics and AI. And then data is one of our newer units, and we wrote data to be a place for middle school students. So these lessons here would be more appropriate for a middle school level to start with. And then we also have lessons on middle school media literacy and high school media literacy. And then I mentioned earlier, we have our cyber scenarios, or ACES. So ACES is an acronym, and it stands for Analysis and Investigation of Cyber Scenarios. These are great. They're exciting. Students get to take on the role of DHS agents as they are tasked with solving complex scenarios. So they have to work cooperatively. They have to use their critical thinking skills and reasoning skills. They're going to sift through a lot of documents and files, and they're going to try and come up with a potential solution together. And we actually have a PD tomorrow that focuses on going through Malpasset Dam, which is one of the scenarios in detail. You get to go through the entire thing so that you'll be comfortable and ready to do that with your students. And so we are still currently updating that content. You may have seen in one of the earlier slides, and if you've been in this course, that we have the dates for when it was last updated. And one of the great things about cybersecurity and lessons that involve cybersecurity is that they need to be updated. So we're working through getting them updated, and then we'll work through updating them again. But what we wanted to make sure that we had in our lessons is that they included scripting, instructional strategies, a focus question, and then cybersecurity standard support. And the cybersecurity standard support is referring to our cybersecurity learning standards. And so you'll see here, this is a image of one of our lesson overviews. So we have our standards there at the top, and then our lesson resources. So you'll know before you teach the lesson what articles you may need to have available if you want to have those printed out, or make sure that you can access those at school. There's teacher background, which is kind of a note to you with some information that may help you before you teach the lesson. Sometimes it will include a tip for teaching the lesson, or other helpful information that teachers have shared with us that has proven successful for them. And then in this next page here, you'll see the focus question. The focus question is designed to guide the lesson. We want for students to have this as kind of that leading point for them as they go through this. We also have included possible student responses. These are in this reddish orange color. I know sometimes it's difficult to get responses out of students, so this could also be used as a way to continue to guide the discussion. And then easy to find support strategies that are going to support student learning. So let's start to dive into some samples from Cyber Society. So we're going to start with our law unit, and this is a screenshot from where our curricula is housed, and you will see that those lessons here. They've all been updated with some of those important points that I mentioned earlier. And we're going to look at Law Lesson 3, which is your permanent electronic record. So though ultimately about law in this unit, students are going to be tasked with reflecting on the role that technology plays in their own personal lives. More specifically, they're going to think about and discuss what ought to be done with the electronic trails that they create. And so we look at our focus question here: should your entire digital footprint be permanent? And what we want for students to engage in a discussion on is, for minors, should it be? Why or why not? What are they basing this on? And so we're going to start here with this short video. Let me optimize sound for you.
Children. Feel back at that. Compound 8.7% by weight. Compound D.
Once you post your image online, you can't take it back. Anyone can see it. Family, friends, anyone. Remember.
So before we move on, you can feel free to unmute or to put into the chat, what were some things that you may have noticed in that video? I'll give just another moment of wait time. Yep. Thank you, Heather. Free for the taking. Every time someone removed it, it came back. She couldn't take it down. Yes. And, I'm really thankful that when I was growing up, when I was in middle school and high school, that we had to, take pictures with the camera, go and take the camera film to be developed, and then you had just that physical copy, the picture itself. And so I knew if I didn't like it and I crumbled it up or I tore it up and threw it away, that it was gone. I wasn't doing anything bad or anything like that, but still, as a middle school student, I'm sure that I was doing things that were embarrassing to myself daily that I would not want to always be posted, to where it would never go away, like we saw on that video. And just reading some of your responses here, notice that everyone was sharing the picture. It was shared and talked about around the school. And every time she thought she had destroyed the copy of it, it was not destroyed. They were still able to access it. They were still able to share it. And so this brings us back to that focus question and our digital footprint. We have this online identity that's created by content that we or students post and visit online. And these electronic records can be permanent and follow us throughout our lives. But should that be the case, especially for minors? And so as students get into this lesson, we have some readings and discussion. So we know that advancements in technology and readily available social media apps have given teens the ability to instantly share any moment of their lives through status updates, through photos, and through video. And students who are between the ages of 13 through 17, their most popular online platforms are TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat. And 95% of teens have access to a smartphone, 45% say they're online almost constantly. And I would even think that that number is probably even higher than that. And so what are teens posting about online? About half are posting about their accomplishments. Some are posting about their family, feelings, emotions, dating life, selfies, their location, and what they're currently doing. And again, these are all things that need an awareness that they may not want for those things to become permanent and to always be available to share. So this takes us to this activity that we're going to move into next, and it's a modified jigsaw for articles. I know when I was in the classroom and I would want to give my students articles to read, sometimes that was just really overwhelming. And I would say, well, find the important points. And that was really overwhelming for some of them because they weren't able to take apart important things that were available to them in the article. So we're going to do a modified jigsaw, and that's why I'd asked you earlier to have a piece of paper available. So if you have that piece of paper available, you're going to want to go ahead and take that paper and fold it in half. I guess that would be like you could fold it, is it hamburger style and then hot dog style? So you're going to fold it into fourths. And as you're folding your paper into fourths, you're going to label each of those quadrants. One of the quadrants will be the main topic, and that's where, as you're reading the article, when you're finished, you'll write what you think was the main topic of your article. Then a spot for any new words or words that you think are important, words that stand out to you as you're reading the article. Then you have a spot for important points or any key takeaways, something that you really want to share with someone else. And then something I think is really important, an area for questions that you have, something that you feel you may need more clarification on. And then what we're going to do from here is send you into breakout rooms. And I think I have it set up so that there will be 3 breakout rooms. And in your breakout rooms, you can have 1 or 2 people to read Article 1 and then 2 people to read Article 2. And once you get into that breakout room, you can decide. We'll give you, I have 20 minutes on here. We'll kind of judge and see if you need more or less time. 20 minutes seems to be about the needed time for this to read through your article, take notes, and then share with your group. In order to do this, I've taken the resources and I have uploaded them into a Google folder. So let me get you this link here because I want to make sure everyone can access that. So that's going into the chat. And then I'm going to switch my screen here so that I can show you the Google folder. So when you click on that link, you're going to see 3 things here. You'll see some instructions and then Article 1 and Article 2. So if I were to click on the instructions, it just kind of gives you, again, another image for how to have your paper folded and labeled with your main topic, important points, new words, and questions. You're going to decide who in your group will read Article 1 and who will read Article 2. And then read through your article and take notes on your folded paper and share information from the articles with each other. And then this is Article 1 here, why colleges look at student social media. And if you're just looking at this, like you just clicked on it the way I did, you can simply scroll down to read all of the article. And then the next article Europe Court lets users erase records on the web. So again, just to go back through those instructions, you'll decide, well, first you have an opportunity to introduce yourselves to each other in your breakout room, and then you'll decide who will take Article 1 and who will take Article 2. You'll read through that, taking notes on your paper in each of those quadrants, and then you'll have an opportunity to talk to each other about that. So before I send you into your breakout rooms, are there any questions for us? Welcome back. We are in the process of closing the breakout rooms. We have one more room that's still meeting. All right, so welcome back, everyone. I hope that you had an opportunity to engage in some great conversation with each other. I have some of the discussion questions that are posted with this lesson up right now. But before we do anything with that, I'd like to see if there's anyone who feels comfortable unmuting and sharing some of the things that they talked about with each other in their room as they looked through the articles.
Yeah, I'll share. I I guess we all had the same two articles. Maya and I read the article about social media becoming an admission criterion for some schools, and some of the implications of that. And one of the things that we read was that some schools actually, instead of having an admissions essay, just want to take a look at your social media, and it takes the place of that. And our article sort of brought up some interesting points about social media accounts and how they can work for you and how they can work against you. And then Maya had a great question, but I'll let her throw that out there.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Laura.
Yes, thank you for that, Laura. So I had a few questions, but I believe, let me see which one it might be. Okay, the age one, right? So when my question was, when do we consider a post to be considered outdated, right? So a kid might get their hands on social media at a younger age where they're still trying to find themselves, they're still trying to learn about life, about politics, about government, everything like these things. And they might say some inappropriate things, but when now it's time for them to apply for college and look to be admitted somewhere, would that now be a negative reflection of who that student is today, right? So what are the parameters of saying whether or not the student is qualified or disqualified, and as well as the ramifications of when is it okay?
Yeah, that's a great question. It makes me think of how this could play out in a classroom and how your students would answer that as well. I know just recently, looking at social media and looking at a local company who was hiring, and I guess whoever's in charge of hiring had made a post that they were looking to hire for so many hours per week, but they put in that post in all capital letters that the very first thing they would look at before they hired someone was their social media. And I thought that was really interesting that that was going to become part of the criteria they were going to use before they hired them, because I figured they were probably looking for someone in this particular job who was younger. And so I thought that was really interesting that they were letting them know that right away. And I thought it was a good reminder too for anyone who was looking at that's one of the things that almost makes a first impression. The discussion questions that are included here, teachers have used these in different ways. Some teachers have students to pick one to answer and use that as kind of the end of the lesson. Some use them as exit tickets. Some give them time to answer them over the course of a few days. And I think that's up to you. And also, the way that you use them, I think, depends on how much time you have to sit and grade things. So it might be something that you assign to students and they look at each other's, or you just do a few, or mix in a few here or there as well. But I'm glad that it sounds like in your room you guys had great discussion and were able to go through those articles together, and that's what we were hoping you'd have an opportunity to do before you shared this with your students. Moving along, one of the next things that I wanted to point out is our media literacy content. We have lessons here for middle school and high school. And I also want to point out that we've had in the past a media literacy unit for elementary school. And we pulled that out of the Cyber Society course because it was clearly marked for 8th grade through 12th grade. But we've had some interest in getting that back. And so next month we will have that available in Canvas, and it will be in past content. And I'll show you where you'll be able to access that. For some of you on this call who have students in elementary, I think that will be of interest to you and hopefully helpful. And so this is media literacy. We have lessons here in defining media literacy, the role of journalism, determining reliability, and then cybersecurity and media literacy. Some of the goals here, just in our very first lesson, are to define media literacy, to also be able to examine your own personal media literacy skills, and learn how social media can impact the spread of false stories, and then what is being done about that. So we have a little tool here that can be used at the beginning. Stanford University designed a tool to find out how media literate people are. So they administered these tests between January 2015 and June 2016 over 12 states, and they collected and analyzed over 7,000 responses from students in middle school, high school, and university. And so one of the things that they put here was looking at, is it true and what's the impact? And so we're going to look at some headlines that may be familiar to you. In this discovery, students decide if these headlines are true or not, and then discuss the impact that it could have if people did believe this false information. So this is a real tweet that came out a few years ago, and I do remember seeing something similar to this. In the next few days, please be keen of your phone settings. Apple will perform unnecessary stealth updates to access your iPhone to switch your emergency broadcast system to off. And so I'm just looking at this and then determining, does that contain valid information? And as we found out, that is not true. Apple did not remove emergency alerts as was speculated at this time. And then I'm going to go to this one here, which is a personal favorite of mine. This is a goldfish nearly the size of footballs pulled from a Minnesota lake. And this was from a few years ago, but I pulled this into presentations that I do because I'm not sure if I mentioned earlier that I have a son, and he was I guess around 11 at this time when my husband saw this picture come across on social media, and he was like, "Oh my goodness, Charlene, you've got to see this picture. This is why I tell you, you can't flush goldfish down the toilet," or it was something like that. And he was like, look there, it's the size of a football. And my son was like, Dad, stop. You can't show that to mom without checking to see if it's credible first, because she's going to lecture us again. And so that was like a proud mom moment for me, that he was actually listening to me, because at that time period when he was 11, he just could not believe that people would want to put false information out. And so I thought that was pretty great that he was starting to understand that, but also he was checking his father to make sure that he knew that before he shared information with us also. And so then we also look at the differences between traditional advertisements and then sponsored articles, because sometimes sponsored articles can look like something that's true news, but it's been paid for. So it's designed to really sway a certain way. And so we want for students to really be aware of that and look for things, some clues on that might say that it is sponsored, or a way that, click here, you can stop seeing this ad, but for clear markers of that. And then also, one of my favorite tools that we use in media literacy is the CARS checklist, and that is designed to look at the reliability of media sources. So we start by asking students to think about, the last thing that they searched for online, and we want for them to think about, what were you searching for? What website did you go to? Do you know who the author was of the website? Do you know if it's considered reliable or not? And so students use the CARS checklist to help determine if the website is reliable, or if it's giving unreliable information. And so there's a handout there. We have some sites that they can visit, and then they're going to go to these sites and then look for these clues of credibility, accuracy, reasonableness, and support. And then as they're looking for these clues throughout the article, then they'll determine, have a verdict if they think it, like, as far as credibility, is it reliable or unreliable, and why. I will tell you that all of these sources here are unreliable. But it's a really good way, a fun way that they can look at some of these different things and determine whether or not it's reliable or not. And so we often encourage teachers to pair that after with the site they know is reliable, where they can find some of these clues to be true. And then we also have cybersecurity and media literacy. So there are cybersecurity concerns in media. We know that we have criminals who are going to develop fake websites, and then when individuals click on the site, they can introduce malware or ransomware, and the sites are often designed to very easily trick or deceive people. And I pulled this here. This was one scheme that was really popular a while back. So it's an interactive dashboard of coronavirus infections and deaths that was produced by Johns Hopkins University. And this was an image that was used on a malicious website to spread password stealing malware. But at first glance, it looks very polished and convincing, but the site required people to download software to launch this fake map here, and that's what opened up the malware. And so one thing that we do want for students to understand to prevent this from happening is to educate themselves to recognize fake websites. And it's not always easy to discern real websites from fake websites. One of the things that students can really focus on easily is looking at the URL and identifying the different parts of the URL and what those stand for. So we do have a handout. This is an image of that handout that students can use to look at the different parts of the URL. And it goes through and explains, this is the protocol. This is a host name, the domain suffix, if there's a country identifier, a file name, and then the file type extension, and goes into a little bit more detail there to help them to recognize that and become familiar and confident as they're looking at different sites. And then moving on to our ACES scenarios. ACES is at the very end of cyber society with all of the lessons and units. And so you'll see right here, just kind of hidden, it almost seems hidden there at the end. But when you click on it, you're going to see immediately that there is quite a bit of information located in each of these lessons or scenarios. So ACES stands for Analysis and Investigation of Cyber Scenarios, and students get to take that role of a DHS agent as they investigate realistic scenarios that are related to cybersecurity. And what's really great is that students and adults, I've seen both do this, they'll look at the situation and immediately they'll grab their phone or their computer and they'll start to search for information to try and figure out what happened. All of these scenarios are not true. So there might be a few things that are based on actual events, but a lot of work went into creating a scenario that could not be easily searched for to find the answer at all. And in making these scenarios, we have created hundreds of documents and files, and they are placed within briefing folders. And so that's what students are going to look through as they play this role of an agent. They're going to look through all of this information and search for clues. They have to come up at the very end with their own briefing to present on who they think is responsible, what the motivations were, and what the response of the United States government should be. And they have to base all of that on evidence that they found within these briefing folders. And so this right here is just an example of Malpasset Dam, which is, if you're interested and you have not signed up for that, we're doing this scenario tomorrow at 11 o'clock Central. And so if you didn't sign up for that and you're interested, just email me and I can send you the link to the professional development. But this is just kind of one of a slide that you can use with that. So welcome analysts, the briefing will begin momentarily. Today's date is the 7th of March. A little bit of location information that they may need. Let's see, question, is this better for high school or middle school ACES? So there are 8 ACES scenarios. Malpasset Dam, the one that we'll do tomorrow, this and the one that I'm showing you here is great for middle school. We've had a lot of success reported with middle schools who use these scenarios. Sometimes the teacher has told us that they have to prepare to take a little bit longer than they thought they needed to with it in middle school, just because students had to find their own system for being able to sort through and look at the documents. And you can either print them out, which I really like having them printed out because I think there's something to say for having a group with only with access to just one copy of something because it forces them to share and listen to one another and depend on one another. But I also understand the other side of it where teachers said it's a lot easier to have it available in a digital format where it can read aloud to students who need that part of it. Or students can look at things at the same time and communicate their ideas together. So I think that is a decision, of course, that's left better with the teacher to decide because you know your students and you know what is going to work best for them. And so the scenario here starts with this breaking news that DHS has been informed of a malfunction at the Malpasset Hydroelectric Dam. Stand by for an update from your case officer. And then in the first briefing, investigators start looking through press releases and news reports about an incident at the Malpasset Hydroelectric Dam. And then there's a transcript of communications between local dam operators and their headquarters in Paris. And then students have this job, and we say over the next few hours, this would usually take about 3 3 class periods, is to assess the scope of the damage and begin to gather evidence for why the incident occurred. And again, they're looking at what happened, who is to blame, why it happened, and then what, if anything, should be done in response. And so that's just a quick overview of an ACES scenario, and those are really great. Malpasset Dam, like I said, is probably the best one to start with. It's going to take the least amount of time in the classroom. Some of the scenarios, which can have up to 5 briefing folders, are probably going to take maybe up to 8 to 10 class periods to go through, but teachers have reported a lot of success using them right before holiday breaks, when they don't want to start anything new, but they still want to keep students engaged. And so that's a great kind of project for that time. Okay, so looking then how to access this material. Our learning management system is Canvas, but our Canvas is used very differently than what you might be used to. In our Canvas, you are actually the students, and students are not able to access it. Instead of, I think maybe how you may have used it before, it's more of a library that houses all of our content. And so students can't get into that. We have two people actually that are going to go through and look at applications for our content. And we do have some students who try to apply, but of course we have answer keys and such in there. So we do not give students access, and we do not want any student information. So instead you can go into this course or any of the courses and download the materials that you need, and you receive access to everything. So even if you are teaching 3rd grade, you're going to get access to everything we have kindergarten through 12th grade. And as I mentioned earlier, we are not going to charge for it, and we're not going to take it away either. And so if you have not signed up for access yet, you can go to our homepage, which is cyber.org, and near the very top, there's an area for you to click on to sign up. And we are grant funded, so there are a few questions that we're going to ask to make sure we stay within the parameters of our grant, and always encourage you to apply with your school email address, because that makes that process of approval a little bit faster. And then you're going to receive by email your credentials to log in. And right next to where it says sign up, you see log in, and you'll click on that, enter those credentials. Once you get in, we do encourage you, of course, to change your password. But when you get in, you're going to see that there are 3 areas here. You have elementary, middle school, and high school. And I love that we've gone to that, because it makes it so much easier. Like I said, if you're a 3rd grade teacher and you're not even sure where to start, now you're looking at all these courses, you can at least narrow it down. Like, okay, well, let me start with elementary and see what's there. And then you can look at the other content as well. But for Cyber Society, you can find it in middle school or high school. And I just selected high school here. So if you click on high school, then you'll go to this next step here, and you'll see all of these courses. And Cyber Society is the one that has the building. So you'll click on that, and that will take you to everything that you saw here today. And so just some next steps from there. Again, you can access everything at cyber.org. And I appreciate so much you being here with us today.